Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
We're treading water in the Lost Lands, and we're finding Pantera in the Den of Thieves. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom. Groovy.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. I've just thought, Van, with our slight changes that we've made to the show, which we were about to discuss and explain, can I say your 7-day guide to everything movies? Because technically, it's wider.
Well, this is the thing. So it's everything for the next 7. Originally, we were during COVID. That's where the 7-day guide to everything movies came out, because we did everything. We did home releases, cinemas, we did streaming, and when COVID ended, the floodgates opened and films started coming out again. Now, obviously, post strikes and all that stuff, it dried up a bit again, and we have weeks that we've got to take off because we can't. We only get to see half the films, or there's only 2 films out, and naff all else. So you know what? Let's take it retro. We will go back and we will commit to our remit for the 7-day guide to everything movies. Just one of many changes we're going to be making over the next few weeks, both behind the scenes and on recording. So more to come. We will discuss, obviously, but the best part is now we get to talk about some preview stuff that I know you've seen as well, the box office top 10, and all sorts of fun.
So every week now, we're going to start with the box office top 10, which we're going to do in just a second. I'm going to just mention the movies we've got coming up. We're going to look at Treading Water in a bit. We've got Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, and In the Lost Lands as well. So they're the kind of 3 big new movies of the week. We've also, as you've mentioned already, we're going to look at Freeview and things that are on and that you could catch from the comfort of your own home, from your sofa. That's on the way as well. But we're going to start with the box office top 10. I've looked at this, and there isn't a single movie that I've seen in the box office top 10.
There's 2 in here. 3 in the top 10 I haven't seen. And I'm going to explain as we go. So do you want to take us through them? So what's at number 10? Go on.
So number 10, Kasari, Chapter 2, and I mean, are we talking about the money as well on this, or do people not really care about that?
I mean, it tells us weeks on release, so we know that is new from last week. It wasn't press shown. I hadn't heard of it, so I can't tell you anything about it, but it has made 123 grand. So just under 124, it's 123.8. So we can't really talk about it. There's not much to say. So on to the next one, as Jay-Z said.
Number 9 is The King of Kings, second week of release, and that's only made £169,889.
Which is really interesting, because that was released over Easter and is the story of Jesus Christ. So, and actually not a bad animated story of Jesus Christ. It's a bit straight-faced, but, perfectly enjoyable. And like I say, kind of thing you could watch with Albert. And actually, it kind of both informative, tells him that story, but at the same time, it's an engaging enough one. It's just it's lacking in comedy for me. I feel like they could have done with a bit of a smile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Number 8 is one I want to see, but I haven't yet. Drop, which is, of course, that's the mobile phone,
this is the
stalker.
Airdrop. Yeah, this is the airdrop thriller, which apparently the director's doing interviews now saying, look, I'm a really big fan of Red Eye, the Wes Craven movie with Cillian Murphy and Rachel McAdams on the plane. He goes, so this is my kind of ode to that. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, I know, I've seen the movie. And to be fair, Drop is not as good as Red Eye. It's a better movie than Trap, but it's not as fun as Trap, and it seems to have about the same kind of tone. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I want to watch Trap again before I want to watch Drop. You know what I mean? I would be more inclined to revisit Trap than Drop, but a very fun kind of capsule thriller, like a confined environment thriller, definitely.
I'm quite surprised on that one on its takings, to be fair, because it's a Universal Pictures. It's been out for two weeks. I mean, I don't know much about the numbers, but to me, to make only £200,000 in 2 weeks on a big movie like that.
Well, no. The 200 grand is the weekend total, so that's its second weekend. That's not. That's not including the week. That's just its weekend taking. In total, Drop is just under £1 million. Now you got to remember that our box office is always significantly lower in terms of amount than the US because we're a smaller country. We have way fewer cinemas.
And all our cinemas are closing.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, cinemas are closing at the same rate as pubs at this rate. So, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I really want to see Six the Musical, mainly because I work with two people who love it and are singing it all the time. So I know all the songs already, but I haven't seen it.
So that's at number 7. 6 is at 7, funnily enough. But no, I know nothing about Six the Musical. They don't press show stage recordings, effectively. So the rare exception was they sent us out links for Hamilton a few years ago, which in hindsight, I kind of wish they hadn't, because I'm just hot take. Hamilton is not very good. Hamilton is boring. People who like Hamilton are usually the most boring people you'll meet. I gather the same is not the case for Six the Musical. But the more interesting one is actually number 6, which is we've got to pick up the pace a bit, actually. Number 6, Snow White, which is probably one of the most ridiculed movies. Going to be the most ridiculed movie of the year, surely. Have you seen the meme that's going around where everyone has used AI to animate Rachel Ziegler as Snow White? Have you seen this?
No? What's this about?
I will send you some of these. They are incredible. There's one where someone's put a red baseball cap on her in one of them and animated her to do Limp Bizkit raps. And there's another one where she's doing Simple Jack from Tropic Thunder, which is just hilarious. And yeah, I'll send you some. They're great. They're more interesting than the film. I promise.
My other half said the same as you. I did warn her what you said, that the little one would love it, but she'd find it boring, and that's exactly what she said to me.
Do you know what? I'm going to go Brooklyn Nine-Nine on this one. Vindication! So, number 5, I didn't get to see. There was exactly one press show, and as I was on the train to go to it on the Monday evening at the BFI IMAX, someone decided to go for a walk on the train lines and kept us there for an hour. So, yeah. So I didn't get to see Warfare. Cheers for that. The one chance I had to be in a room with Alex Garland. Yeah.
Ouch.
The Amateur at number 4, I didn't get to see either, which was the Rami Malek thriller. I didn't get to see the Penguin Lessons at number 3. No press shows for the Penguin Lessons. Not one.
Why?
Do not know. I have no idea. No press shows of Penguin Lessons. I inquired, nothing.
And that's the first one to make a weekend total of over 1 million.
Yeah, exactly. But, there you go. First week of release.
Weird.
It's well advertised. But I think we know, even though we know what's number 1, I think number 2 is kind of the one everyone's talking about this week, which is Sinners. We didn't get to review it. We were off last week, which is Ryan Coogler's effectively From Dusk Till Dawn with a bit more historical African-American civil rights credibility. Jim Crow-like credibility, looking into the Jim Crow South, but doing From Dusk Till Dawn with 2 Michael B. Jordans instead of Tarantino and George Clooney. And it's worth noting, I went and revisited From Dusk Till Dawn after seeing Sinners. I still prefer From Dusk Till Dawn. And Faith watched it for the first time, turned around the following day, said, I'm still thinking about that film. That was great. I went, I bloody told you, From Dusk Till Dawn slaps. But number 1, I know you have something of a connection to, is the Minecraft movie. So you didn't get to see this yet, did you?
No, my plan was to take my little boy last week when I had him for Easter, but he'd seen it the week before. So I'm not going to take him to see the same movie twice. I know he's going to have an issue sitting there watching the same thing twice, but I really want to see it.
I mean, to be fair, for the amount of money this is making, so in 3 weeks, at the UK box office, this thing has taken in 45.5 million quid. That is insane. This is already one of the most successful, maybe the most successful movie of the year so far, despite the fact that it is absolute bilge. I mean, it is complete crap. But you know what? It's a Minecraft movie, so it's going to get all the kids in. So, fair play. I mean, see our review 2 weeks ago for in more detail on that. But what have we got to review first this week, anyway?
So, in a moment, we are going to be looking at Treading Water. That's the first movie for us to look at. We've got Den of Thieves 2, Pantera, and then also In the Lost Lands, of course, all of which you have seen.
Yes. All of these I have seen. So, the only one we're missing this week is The Accountant 2. which, do you know what? Screw it. I'll do the inside baseball thing, which I was sent an email by Warner Brothers saying the screening was at capacity, and both Paul Ross and Stuart Armour were there and actually sent me a photo of the mostly empty screen. So, cheers, Warner Brothers. I hope it makes no money. But there we are. That's what you get. Anyway, so we'll talk about Accountancy when I've gotten around to seeing it, and I was looking forward to it. Less so now, because, well, if I'm not good enough for you, then your film shouldn't be good enough for me. But there we are.
Right, well, we'll move swiftly on from that, and we'll look at Treading Water in just a bit, so stay where you are. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen then. Now we've covered the box office top 10. Let's move on to our first movie of the week. And this is Treading Water. So this is a drama. That's all I know, really. And it's got the same director and writer, Gino Evans, whoever that may be.
So, yeah, Gino Evans is he's from Manchester, as we very specifically learned during our screen. So you remember I said we were going to Warfare and someone went for a walk on the train line?
Yes.
Right. I'm going to expand on that story. I was double booked that night for 2 screenings. I was going to turn this down and go and see Warfare, because obviously Warfare was out the same week. This was out 2 weeks later. So we wound up at this because it started later. So we went to the BFI on South Bank. We sat and we had a Q&A with the director and the male and female lead of the movie. And this is a very, very Manchester film. This thing is so Manchester, I'm surprised Daryl Morris isn't in it somewhere. But it's from Gino Evans, and it's about mental health. It's a mental health based drama. It stars Joe Gill, who again I didn't know from Adam. Didn't know this guy from Adam. And he is Danny. He is a young man who has been released from roughly a 6-month stint in prison. It's not specified what he did, but you gather it's something like theft or robbery or something like that, because he notably has a problem with addiction. And the very specific reason he has a problem with addiction is because he has, I think it's meant to be schizophrenia. I believe it's schizophrenia. It's actually say on here. But no, it's an unspecified sort of schizophrenia-like condition. That manifests itself as pretty visceral hallucinations that the film depicts, as a sort of a fake out. So he will be having a conversation with you, and then he will simply grab you by the ears and smash your head into the table until you're dead, kind of a thing. And then he snaps back to it, and he's back 30 seconds earlier in the conversation. And it's relayed to us that is the toxic thought that is running through his mind in that moment. And this happens several times through the movie. Upon his release, he takes residence in, I think, do we call them halfway houses anymore?
I think so.
We used to call them halfway houses. I don't know if that's an outdated term. But he takes up residence in a sort of halfway house, a sort of gateway facility, so that he can move on, find his own private, get a council flat, a job, etc. As he's sort of trying to rebuild his life, reestablish his relationship with his slightly estranged family, he also reconnects with his not so much high school girlfriend, secondary school girlfriend in this country, sorry, but kind of love interest. They had a bit of a snog in year 9 kind of a thing, one of those types. But she's now a sex worker, but also a heavily pregnant sex worker, and this connection it almost instantly emerges between the two. You have these two sort of lost souls in very disparate and different, but also kind of similar situations, seeking sort of solace in one another. But of course, all the negativity that comes from Danny's condition and also from her life seeks to actually, rip all of this apart. So I've got a clip for you. Have a listen. This is from Treading Water in cinemas from today.
Sometimes I feel so desperate. It's like my brain throbs.
Give me a few minutes, please. This is Danny. He's going to be moving into the house.
I used to fancy you, big time.
Did you?
Birthday bumps, innit?
Whose birthday?
Oh, what? No. Birthday shots?
Yeah.
Right up the arse. Birthday! Get your arse out.
Does your mum know what you do? I think she just blocks it out.
So this, just to clarify, this is complete fiction, right?
This is indeed complete fiction, but it's one of those, it's pulled from certain other people's stories, I have to believe. So this is Gino Evans's debut feature. He has made a couple of shorts. He was in the Q&A with us, which incidentally, can I just pass out a note to all Q&A moderators? Because I think I missed a memo at some point, and this keeps happening with increasing regularity now, where the term Q&A seems to be being interchanged with an interview in front of an audience. That's not a Q&A. That is an interview.
It's just an A.
That's just an A, yeah. No, when the audience asks the question, that's a Q&A. Don't interview them on stage and call it a Q&A. That ain't the case, bub. 3 questions got asked by the audience, and one of them might be one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my life. It was brilliant. Anyway, that's one of those stories that I'll save for off mic. But anyway, Joe Gill in the lead, first of all. Absolutely terrific. I had never seen him in anything, did not know who he was, and the reasoning for this is I think because mostly he's known for things like Emmerdale. So like he's sort of jobbing British actor, up and coming, very young, so still in his I'd say mid-20s, maybe late 20s at a pinch. He's terrific in this. Sidebar, hilarious moment the morning after we watched this, when Faith and I are watching something on YouTube, the ads pop up, and it's an ad for, I think it was Dormio, and it's him. It's Joe Gill selling me Dormio, and we were just looking at each other like, what? And we said, what are the odds? Because we were just talking 5 minutes earlier about how great he had been in that film, and then he's in a Dormio advert on YouTube. Okay, funny old world. He is genuinely terrific, and he has done the work in this. He has put in the work, it has to be said. Becky Bow as well, female lead. You can hear her in the clip. Very much a Keira Knightley-like quality, I would say. I think she's also brilliant in this, as well as Darryl Clarke, who sort of serves as the comic relief. And that's when you get to Gino Evans, who, as a director, I'd say very workmanlike. There's not much style to this, but it's not a film, given its subject matter, that necessitates or requires or even invites style. However, its script is very, very good. It's a very raw and gritty film. However, it also isn't afraid to have some humour. In particular, that's where Darryl Clarke comes in, because he is quite funny in it. I mean, he's the kind of person you would avoid if you ran into him in your local pub. Definitely. He's the guy you avoid in the corner of the pub every week. But very funny here, and it works. And the relationship between him and Joe Gill, I found that was my high point of the film, actually, was this, because it starts out quite distant, and they come together quite well. I think this is something that fits in the British kitchen sink drama of recent years, alongside something like I, Daniel Blake. It's not quite as universal as I, Daniel Blake, which I think is probably a broader and more accessible story, given that it is about that's just about poverty. And I think more people struggle with poverty than do addiction, maybe. I'm spitballing that, I'm just guessing. I haven't checked the numbers, but I do think this should be talked about in the same breath. I think Treading Water is absolutely superb. I think this is someone's debut feature, maybe not on the directorial side is that impressive, but certainly on the screenwriting side, and definitely on the performances. A big song and dance was made at our screening, but it's a film it's about Manchester. It's a very Manchester film. You're like, do one, will you? Give me a break. This could be set anywhere. You barely see anything in Manchester. You see 2 streets, in Manchester. They're not even Main Street. 2 back streets in Manchester. This could be set in. This could be set in Worksop for all anyone cares. This could be Basildon for all anyone knows. It could be anywhere. But they were making this big bloody song and dance. It's Manchester. It's like, sod off, please, come on. But yeah, that's the only thing took away from an otherwise pretty great movie. And I will stress that I was in a terrible mood, because obviously I'd been sat on a train for an hour when I should be in a screen with Alex Garland. And I didn't want to see this. I did wind up seeing it, and I loved it. So honestly, read a lot into that. This is great.
I think it's credit to Joe Gill as well, the fact that you're saying that he did his homework. And actually, I think portraying any character with mental illness is going to be hard to do it, authentically.
Not even just that. I think, but both the mental illness and the addiction, and I think the manner of because there's a lot of voiceover. He gets a lot of voiceover in the film. We hear sort of his internal monologue, and it's a really gripping story. It's very, it is narratively driven, also very character driven. Also has just one of the best sort of antagonists of a film I've seen in quite some time. I'm trying to remember his name. Was it Warren something? Who plays Becky Bowe's partner in it. And I thought he was just Darren Connolly. So the character's name is Warren. Darren Connolly, who apparently is ex-army. And boy, can you tell, the man's built like a truck. And I thought he did really well with a part that could have very quickly gone a bit parodic. It very much is an archetype. You could very much phone it in. But I think he adds a level of depth that I found really impressive.
Right, well, if you fancy watching Treading Water, you can. It's out in cinemas from today. Right, we are going to look at Gerard Butler's new one next, Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. We'll see what Van thought to that. Stay right where you are. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. We are going to move swiftly on in a moment to Den of Thieves 2 Pantera. But before that, we're going to look at movies on Freeview this week. So these will hopefully be some of the movies that we've all seen.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's some great... I mean, I just said to you, Friday night alone, like tonight, is absolutely stacked. You're spoiled for choice. BBC One's got Clint Eastwood's The Mule. Over on BBC Two is Relic. Hang on, is that? I'm guessing that's not. No, sorry. I'll take that back because I thought it was Guillermo del Toro's. Oh, it's The Relic, isn't it? From. No, I'm thinking of Relic. The Relic was the one set in the museum with Penelope Ann Miller. They released around the same kind of time. Still a banger, complete trash, but a banger. What else we got? Over on film on Channel 4, Fantasy Island, the Blumhouse adaptation of Fantasy Island's on. ITVB's got Flashdance, the original version with Jennifer B. I'm getting my 80s films mixed up. They Live. John Carpenter's They Live is over on Talking Pictures TV. Rush Hour 3 on 5 USA. And that's just Friday night.
Wow.
You know what I mean? That's quite a lineup. Saturday night, you can watch Carlito's Way on Channel 4 after Guy Ritchie's Wrath of Man. Fast and Furious 9's on ITV2. The Terminator. I'm going through a Terminator rewatch at the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, they're on. The Terminator is on ITV4, The Notebook on ITVB, Free Guy and Benedetta. That's a weird double bill on Film 4. Free Guy, obviously Ryan Reynolds comedy. Benedetta, Paul Verhoeven's, I think it's 16th century Italian lesbian nun horror movie, which is just terrific and well worth a watch. And Sunday, you want the kind of afternoon film for with the kids. This week, your big offering is over on ITV2, and it's Trolls. It's the first Trolls movie, but don't let that heartbreak you or anything, because Raiders of the Lost Ark is on right afterwards.
Yes.
At the same time, over on Film 4, a film I really want to revisit, Hidden Figures. With about the African American women in NASA in the 60s with Kevin Costner. Just fabulous film. Really
never seen that
film. I would heartily recommend it because it is about, prejudice and race against these three women who effectively were pivotal to getting, Nan on the moon.
Yeah.
So, brilliant story, very well acted. Taraji P. Henson, superb in it. Can't recommend that one highly enough. If you've never seen it, do check that out. A good book as well, actually. I think I read the novel for that back in about 2016. Let's have a look at Monday for you. AVP, Alien vs. Predator, is on ITV4.
That's good. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
What? I'm gonna say a thing about that. I'm a fan of Alien vs. Predator. Again, trash, but you know what? Fair play, trash. And it is directed by the same man who made our final film for this week, In the Lost Lands. So let's just say he did better work on Alien vs. Predator. That's what I'm going to say. And we'll get to that later. Also, I think AVP might be the only film he's made since 2001 that doesn't star his wife. So the fact that it's the only good one one of the only two good ones. Oh no, tell a lie. His only two good films since 2001 are the only two films that don't star his wife, and they are AVP and Death Race from about 2008. the Jason Statham Death Race remake. However, a film I know you'll enjoy, ITV4 on Monday night, The Craze, the classic Kemp Brothers Craze.
Yes, I think I've seen that and I loved it. Yes.
Who doesn't? It's got, and you know what? It's got peak hotness Sadie Frost in there as well, presumably long before Jude Law entered the picture and, you know, let's just say mucked things up a bit. Over on Film 4, one of my very favourite film series, Angel Has Fallen, is on, which I think is the third. Is it Olympus, London, Angel, isn't it? And then we're getting a new trilogy coming because what is Gerard Butler without a franchise? But let's do one more day. Let's do Wednesday. We'll take it through to Wednesday for you. Over on BBC4. Please tell me this is the one I think it is. No, it's not. There is a film called Priest on BBC4. I'm sad to say that it is not the absolutely abysmal Paul Bettany sci-fi horror movie from 2009, which incidentally is a film a friend of mine compared In the Lost Lands to. I can't wait to talk about In the Lost Lands. I don't know if you can tell.
Well, we're going to be there in a moment, but as you just mentioned Gerard Butler, that's a nice moment to move on because we are going to look at his new movie right now, which is out in cinemas from today. It's called Den of Thieves 2.
No, that one. Hang on, no, Den of Thieves 2, very specifically, is on Prime from today.
Oh, okay.
This is the thing. It's getting the theatrical day of release, but not in theatres, so it's going to be on Prime Video.
Oh, okay. Was Den of Thieves 1 straight to Prime?
No, Den of Thieves 1 is in cinemas. It made decent money, got good reviews, and this opened in January in the US in cinemas and made very good money. People loved it. I was mystified that we didn't get it released here, but you know what? It's out. I have finally gotten to see it. I have revisited the first one. Have you seen Den of Thieves, Adam?
No, I haven't seen the first one.
Right. To explain this for you, Den of Thieves, the first one, involved a gang of ex-cons and ex-military guys who basically pull off heists. One of the gang is Pablo Schreiber from Orange is the New Black, and I want to say Skyscraper with Dwayne Johnson. And the other one, another one of the team is O'Shea Jackson Jr., otherwise known as Ice Cube Jr., so Ice Cube's son, you know, the one who played Ice Cube in Straight Outta Compton, his actual son, that's him. So they are the thieves, and then there are the cops, who are led by Gerard Butler as, and I swear to God, this is his name, Big Nick. Big Nick is just a sweaty, unshaven, slick-back, greasy-haired, leather blazer, cowboy boot, wife-beater wearing a-hole, for lack of a better term. He is the most corrupt cop imaginable, cheats on his wife every chance he gets, not afraid of being on the take a little bit, and he also happens to run LA Sheriff Department's Major Crimes Division, and he's trying to catch them. So it's effectively Heat. So it's effectively a sort of reimagining of Heat with Butler as Pacino and Pablo Schreiber as De Niro. There is a bit more to it than that, and unfortunately, I'm going to have to spoil it for you in order to tell you the plot of the second one. At the end of the first movie, it was in fact revealed that Pablo Schreiber was not the leader of this gang of thieves. It was in fact the meek, more timid O'Shea Jackson Jr. And as a result, he gets away. And this this disgrace embarrasses... pardon me... This absolute disgrace embarrasses Gerard Butler, embarrasses Big Nick, and gets him fired. So, O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s got away. He's Donnie, I think his name is. He's now in Europe. He's in Antwerp and France, and he's pulling off heists on the continent. And Big Nick learns this and decides, you know what? I'm going to switch sides. I've got no job. I know where this guy is. I can out him at any time. I'm going to show up, and do you know what? I want a piece of that money as well. So have a listen. This is them plotting this is Cop and Crim plotting a robbery together.
You watching?
Yep.
Most guards don't do smoke, around on phones, watch porn. Those boys are different.
Very.
Been clocking those dudes for weeks. Those dogs can hunt.
Yeah. This is gonna be interesting.
You feeling it?
Yeah, I'm feeling it.
And the cop goes gangster. Get your ass over here, man. Your espresso's getting cold.
See, the premise of this, to me, sounds great. I love the premise of how you've just set this up. And I want to know more now.
Yeah, and you will love the movie as well. Den of Thieves is great. Den of Thieves 2 is even better. It is a proper banger. For one thing, it is noticeably heavier on character elements. There's a lot more time with the actual Gerard Butler character and with the O'Shea Jackson Jr. character. So you get more of a feel of what they're like as people. So much so that I will put this out there. I would rather... I love this movie. I think this movie is brilliant. I would still rather have watched an entire movie of just Gerard Butler as this character, just going on holiday, not doing a heist, just going on holiday to Europe and being unpleasant to French people. Because he's so fun doing this. I had an absolute blast. It's a much funnier film than the first was. There's a lot of comedy in it. The heist is, I think, more suspenseful. And whereas the first movie was more like Heat, this is a lot more like Ronin from 1997, the late great John Frankenheimer directing. Which, of course, Ronin had great car chases, most memorably. This also pays tribute to that by having, in turn, great car chases. Absolute banger. I think this effortlessly trousers the first one. And that's no mean feat, because the first one is really, really good. That this has gone to streaming, I think, is a damning indictment of our distribution strategy in this day and age. Looking at how much this made in the US and putting this onto streaming in the UK is absolutely ghastly. I mean, this is on Netflix US right now, it's worth noting. So even before it was out, if you had a VPN, you could already have watched this on streaming. That's the most bizarre thing about this. And yet they're doing this to what I think is so far... I mean, it's certainly one of the best action films of the year, but I genuinely would not be shocked to find this turns up in my top 20 of the year.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a big statement to make.
I mean, I say it with no bones. I have no hesitation whatsoever in saying that. I thought this was great. And do you know what? This has Faith approval. So I can say that as well. I managed to make a believer out of Faith, of all people, and trying to get her to believe in a mindless action movie, let alone like a mindless heist action movie. That is no mean feat. So, I think this absolutely deserves the win. Please give us the third one. I want Den of Thieves. I'm calling it that in advance. Incidentally, I am referring to this movie habitually as Bronin. If it's Ronin with Gerard Butler, it is Bronin. There is a lot of broing out in it. It's Bronin. So, if you want to watch something this weekend, out of all the films we're going to talk about this week, stream Bronin, aka Den of Thieves 2 Pantera.
Especially as if you already subscribe to Prime, it's free, essentially, for you to watch it this weekend from the comfort of your own sofa. So take a look. Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. Right, still to come. We're going to look at movies that are on the home platforms this week that you can just get for free if you already subscribe to them. And also we're going to cover In the Lost Lands in just a minute, so stay where you are. Hello and welcome back to the final part of Offscreen this week. We are going to look, first of all, at movies on home platforms that you can watch from the comfort of your own sofa this week. And then we're going to cover In the Lost Lands. So, Van, where would you like to start on movies that we can all watch at home?
Well, I mean, obviously you can watch Den of Thieves 2 Pantera at home, and I urge everybody to do so, like immediately. Like, your life is missing something without the joy of Big Nick. That's all I'm going to say. I got an email 2 days ago. No, not 2 days. It was literally, because obviously we record this on a Thursday, Inside Baseball there. And last night, on Wednesday, the 23rd, I got an email officially announcing the upcoming home release of Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare, which is the latest part of that Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey kind of series.
Yeah.
It's out on Monday the 28th on home platforms. I haven't watched it, and look, if you're only going to tell me the night before we record, I ain't watching it and reviewing it. That's not a thing. But I think that's on digital release, I believe. It's also on Blu-ray and DVD. We've also got a load of 4K issues of like old movies out this next week. Pale Rider, The Outlaw Josie Wales. Those are both Clint Eastwood classics. Stripes, the iconic Bill Murray comedy from the 80s where he joins the army with Harold Ramis. Remember that one?
Yeah.
And none other than Gandhi is getting release on 4K, would you believe? Like, of all things, Richard Attenborough's iconic Oscar-winning Gandhi was a huge Oscar movie. The Brutalist finally hits disc this next week as well. And last but certainly by no means least, Tombstone. I think Tombstone was the Kurt Russell Western. And the timing of this is, I think, is quite nice because it features the late, great Val Kilmer, of course, in there as well.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know you and I obviously love Val Kilmer for different reasons. I'm a Batman Doors guy, and you're and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang
Top Gun
fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tombstone, absolute banger of a Western. Like Kurt Russell, Michael Biehn from The Terminator, Michael Rooker's in there as well, and of course Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday. I'll be a Huckleberry anytime. That's just a great movie. Also, on sticking with the Clint Eastwood, by the way, from earlier, all of the Dirty Harrys are being released in remastered form on Blu-ray as well this next week. So if you're a Clint Eastwood fan, I'll have to let Paul Ross know, you're going to be well served and well catered for in the next week on disc formats.
Excellent. All right. I mean, that sounds like a decent week. Now, let's look at our final movie that you've seen, and that is In the Lost Lands. Now, I literally know nothing about this one.
Do you know what? I don't think anybody involved in making it or starring in it does, either, if we're really honest. So, just for a bit of context for you, this comes to us from director Paul W.S. Anderson. He used to be Paul Anderson, and then, of course, Paul Thomas Anderson came on the scene, so Paul Anderson became Paul W.S. Anderson. There is also an actor named Paul Anderson who was the villain in the Ray Winston remake of The Sweeney, if you're keeping tabs. So there are 3 Paul Andersons for your viewing pleasure there, if you're so inclined. I will argue that this one, Paul W.S. Anderson, arguably the least impressive of the Paul Andersons. I can literally name 4 good films that he's made. 5 if you count the first Resident Evil, which, yeah, let's do it. Let's count Resident Evil. So, Event Horizon, Soldier, Resident Evil, Death Race, and what is the other one I'm forgetting? No, there was another one. Oh, Alien vs. Predator, that was it. I almost had them in order then. If I put AVP before Death Race, that would have been in chronological order as well. So, this is set in like a post-apocalyptic future, in which the human race is sort of just living in the rubble kind of thing. Magic is a thing, and there's a witch played by Mila Jovovich, who is Paul W.S. Anderson's wife. Note that. And she is
noted.
She is asked by the Queen if she can venture into the Lost Lands, a sort of wilderness space. Think about the Badlands or something like that. And retrieve a spell that can allow her to transform into animals. And despite the fact that the witch is from the Badlands, from the Lost Lands, she somehow needs a guide and protector who's played by Dave Bautista. And they team up and they venture into the desert and fight some monsters. So, yeah. If that sounds ridiculously stupid, I promise I've made it sound smarter than it actually is. Have a listen to this clip and do pay attention to the level of, pristine dialogue being thespied away here.
Some say you came from the Lost Lands and that you know the things that live there. Dark, unnatural things.
Is this what you want from me? To tell you fairy tales?
I want from you the power to become a beast, Grey Alice. To be more than human. Does that shock you?
I've seen too much to be shocked so easily.
So you can sell me the secret of shape-shifting. To a wolf?
If you forget about the storyline in this and just go if I just base this on what I've seen of the trailer without any sound, it's sort of a hybrid for me of the never-ending story mixed with one of the Star Wars where they're in Jabba the Hutt's place, like the bar, and it's all dark and dingy and magical. Like, it's a mixture of the two of those visually.
I promise, if you ever actually watched this and then remembered that you just mentioned this in the same sentence as the never-ending story in Star Wars, you would wash your mouth out with bleach. Because, dear God. I mean, first of all, it's one of the most ghastly-looking movies I've seen in ages. It's all shot against green screen. And the background never quite works. The rotoscope, the chroma key effect that they've used just doesn't quite work at any given point. They try to paper over it by making the whole thing like sepia toned. So it's got that kind of old photo-y look. As you can tell by the dialogue, which is dreadful, everybody in this thinks they're starring in Game of Thrones. Right? They think it's like post-apocalyptic Game of Thrones. Now, there is a reason for that, and this is absolutely mind-blowing, is because this is based on a short story by George R.R. Martin, the writer of Game of Thrones.
That makes sense.
Which, this is to George Martin what the Lawnmower Man is to Stephen King. And if you get that reference, you know exactly where I'm coming from. Believe me, I don't use that one lightly. This is far and away the single worst movie I have watched this year. And I'll be honest, up until this point, it was Minecraft. But step aside Jack Black, Paul W.S. Anderson and his missus are here. And they're exactly as crap as they usually are together. Good God. Oh,
brilliant.
Man. I mean, if a film deserved to be sent to streaming, this was it. However, this is going to... I saved this from the home platforms because this is going to digital on Monday. This isn't even in cinemas. This is the one. Like, whereas Gerard Butler did not deserve to be sent to streaming with Big Nick, this absolutely... I mean, this doesn't even deserve to be put on streaming. I would actually put this on VHS and fill a landfill with it. Like they did with E.T. Remember in the 80s when they had all the leftover copies of the E.T. video game? That famous story. You ever see the documentary about that?
No, I knew there was one, though. I never saw it.
There's a documentary about unearthing all of the buried copies of the E.T. Atari game. They should fill a landfill with just VHS copies of this, and it's exactly where the film deserves to be. Just relegated to, like, late 80s direct-to-VHS crap. So, I mean, there are so many better films that actually went that route than this. This is unbelievable. I mean, even Batista, who's normally really up for some fun, is just... I mean, he's visibly bored. You can tell. I felt for the guy. I honestly thought, I don't know how much your mortgage is, buddy, but I really hope it was worth this. I really hope. Like, this is humiliation. I mean, you were in Blade Runner. You know what I mean? You were in the Avengers. At this point, you're inevitably going to be in a Fast and Furious movie. Why are you doing this? Why? But no, they did, and it's out there, and you shouldn't watch it. Is the short.
If you were backed into a corner, Van, and I had to say to you, just give one thing that you liked about it, or one positive spin. Can you dig deep enough?
I really can't find anything to like.
Oh no!
I mean, it's an hour and 41 minutes long, and it's really felt like 2.5 hours. I really thought, this is such a slog. I say a friend of mine saw this before me, and he compared it to Paul Bettany's Priest from 2000, which is an awful movie. I promise that's better than this. It's just bad. Their last movie together, Anderson and Mila Jovovich, their last movie together, I believe, was Monster Hunter a year or two ago. We reviewed that, and that was about as bad. And every time these two seem to pair up for something that isn't a Resident Evil movie, it's just awful. I just don't get it. It's the Rob Zombie problem. It's like, look, buddy, we get it. Your wife is very attractive. Nobody's arguing. We know this. We know she's a gorgeous woman. We all agree. We've all agreed on this for nearly 30 years now. It's been nearly 30 years since The Fifth Element. And we all agree. Mila Jovovich, what a beautiful lady. You cannot hang a movie on that, let alone an entire series or an entire career's worth of films. Neil Marshall's doing this now with Charlotte Kirk. I just don't get what happens to these guys. If I ever become this guy, honestly, please slap me and give me an intervention, please.
When Faith starts doing the podcast with us, that's when I'll slap you.
Let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. When she has to be the cameo in everything, slap me and tell me to knock it off.
Well, if you'd like to find out exactly how crap this movie is from what Van has said, it is out on digital from Monday if you do want to check it out.
Fair.
Yeah, there you go. So let's have a quick look at what we've got coming up next week, Where Dragons Live.
Yeah, this looks like to be more of a drama. This is about a family going back to their sort of former family home and sort of packing it up and dealing with the sort of emotional repercussions and all the memories that sort of get revived with that, effectively. I don't know much about it. It sort of popped up in my inbox in the last day or two. And I'm like, I should look into that. We've also got Paolo Sorrentino's new movie, The Parthenope, which is, again, about a woman sort of returning to her past. This is set in Naples, though, in the 1950s. So very much the kind of thing Paolo Sorrentino would make. I've got an entire Oscar pack in my office from, I think it was The Hand of God. I don't know if that was his last one, but certainly one of his more recent ones. Massive art book. I've never opened it. And one I know you're going to be looking forward to, though, is a film, I think it's a documentary, called Borrowed Time, The Lost Decade of John Lennon, which is about that final 10-year stretch in which, he wasn't really so much fronting himself as the musician anymore. He was more the activist, the cultural figure. So it's a look at that, about those final 10 years of John Lennon's life, from director Alan Parker, no less. So I'm looking forward to that because, to be honest with you, I don't know a lot about that period. Like, I know the Beatles, I know, the Yoko Ono of it all, and then he gets shot. And that's basically my knowledge of John Lennon. Somewhere in there, Sean Lennon comes into existence and gets given a Mac by Steve Jobs, but that's about it. That's all I know. And last but certainly by no means least, a movie I went to the premiere for the other night.
It looked great.
It was great. May have offended a certain musician, but
yeah, you did.
You're laughing because you know the story, and I took a dig at someone that I didn't realise was a popular musician. I will take
a popular musician is an understatement. He's like a mega pop star right now, and you didn't recognise him.
I don't know what he looked. I'm 41. How would I know?
Well, I mean, he's well known for being quite vain on how he looks, and ironically, that was why you had a pop at him.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so I was at the premiere of that, and it was for, of course, Marvel's Thunderbolts. Basically their Suicide Squad of sorts, in which all of the sort of anti-hero mercenary types from the Marvel Cinematic Universe team up. And so you have Sebastian Stan, Florence Pugh, Wyatt Russell, Hannah John Kamen, Olga Kurylenko. Who am I missing in that as well? Oh, and of course, David Harbour. Certainly last but no means, I know he's least, David Harbour as the Red Guardian, which we will get to talk about in detail next week. I'm still embargoed on it as well. Like, I have to get an outshot for a week. An entire week. So,
well, I'm sure you can do it. There's no point me asking you movie of the week. It's obviously going to be Den of Thieves 2, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, movie of the month for me so far.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, that is, of course, all we have time for this week on Off Screen. We will return next week. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall be back.